Welcome to Paranormal Central, broadcasting live from Central California with your hosts Jeffrey Gonzalez and Alan Thomas. Broadcasting video worldwide at paranormalcentral.net and broadcasting audio on the Dark Matter Network at artbell.com. Are you ready to witness something that you cannot explain?
I'm looking for you, you're looking for me. We have to decide what it will be. Can it be true? Can I believe? We unexplained. Look into the sky.
Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of Paranormal Central. My name is Jeffrey Gonzalez. I am your host tonight, and I have a group of people in here with me because I can't do it by myself. Alan Thomas, my co-host.
Hi y'all, how you doing?
And womaning the boards in front of me that you can't see because she's out of the picture, Emerald Bonilla.
Hello.
Thank you for showing up tonight, wherever you may be, Sunday evening, Sunday afternoon. My name is Jeffrey Gonzalez. I am your host. I am also the founder of a group called the Sanger Paranormal Society. Been investigating the paranormal going over, I'm just going to say over 10 years now, because I have lost track. So, I appreciate you guys all tuning in. We're going to have fun tonight. We just, out of nowhere, just got somebody that we're going to have on live on the phone. And Danny actually got that for us, and Danny's going to be talking about his stuff. And I'm just going to let Danny talk about him because it was him, all him, that got him on, which is cool. So we're going to go ahead and get Danny Valderrama, who is our Squatch reporter, Bigfoot guy, and he's going to give us the latest Bigfoot stuff from around the world for the past week. So we're going to get him on here. Danny, are you there?
I am here.
Right on.
Hey, Danny.
Hello, fellas.
What's up?
And we got Danny. All right. So what's going on, Danny?
Oh, nothing. Just hanging out Sunday afternoon.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you've been seeing weird stuff, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, that last night it was pretty freaky.
We'll talk
it
about.
Wasn't paranormal. It was just weird people.
Oh. Well, you know what? You know why? Because you hang around with those Raider guys, those Raider people.
No.
Those guys are all.
I don't think they are.
Yeah. Yeah. Whatever. So, all right, Danny, let's go ahead and talk about Bigfoot and other cool stuff. You got well, I'll let you talk about it later on. Okay, so I'm not going to say who he is. So right now, we're going to go ahead and go to picture number one. For all those who are tuning in at paranormalcentral.net, you can go ahead and go on our website and our photographs. Actually, when you're watching us at paranormalcentral.net, the live stream channel, you can look at the photographs that we have up. But if not, you can always listen to us at artbell.com on the Dark Matter Network. Yep, you heard me right. We are on artbell.com right now. And the photographs that we're going to be showing you are on the homepage at artbell.com right now. So if you want to go over there and just look at the photographs there and listen to us on their app or whatever you want to do on their site, that's cool. So we're going to go ahead and go to photograph number one, and we're going to let Danny hit it.
All right. For the first, it's from the Bigfoot Research News website.
Okay.
It was posted this morning, and it's our good friend Tim Fasano, who's been around for a long time. He's out in the Florida area, and he is making claims that he has evidence, and he wants everybody to prepare to believe.
Hasn't he made this claim before?
He's made many claims like this before, and some people will call him a hoaxer, and some people say he's the real deal. So just have to wait and see. But he's been a skunk ape tracker forever, and he's been out there every chance he gets. Some people claim that he's the greatest skunk ape tracker of all time. And he just spent countless days in the field, and he just finished an expedition in the Florida swamps, and he claims to have recorded multiple vocalizations out there. He says they are ape-like sounds that he's recorded, and they're having conversations. He says there's up to 7 of them, 7 different voices that he's recorded, and they're the most impressive vocalizations ever, are his claims. Although there's nowhere where you can hear them yet, or any video of his expedition. But he says that they are in, they were all recorded in undeveloped lake area, and it's a wilderness reserve, so there's no hunters out there or anything. And he's already scheduled a trip to go back in November, and this place is only accessible by canoe. And he's heading back there with Stacy Brown, and it's going to be an 8-man crew with a 4-canoe expedition for 3 days and 2 nights. He's claiming that he knows exactly where they are, and it's like a big family that lives there. And he says they will find them. So be ready. And he doesn't say if he's going to capture one or kill one or get video proof or what.
Yeah.
But the only way you'd be absolutely sure that they're there is to bring one back.
Yeah. Yep. A body. We need a body.
Yep.
How many times have we been saying that?
Need a body. So we'll have to wait and see. Maybe he recorded the same sounds that we did.
Yeah. All right, cool. So let's
Probably
go to
bring back a bag of Bigfoot poo, something like that.
That's gonna pretty much.
I heard they can find it all over the place. That's what they say.
All right, we got photograph number 2.
The first picture is a drawing by Tim O'Brien, and this was actually from GQ magazine, and it was also on other Bigfoot sites. And the article is written by Michael Finkel, and it's for the September 2014 issue of GQ magazine. And in this area in central Maine for the past 30 years, there's been, or close to 30 years, there's been a phantom haunting the woods of central Maine. And a lot of people think that the people who are saying that there was somebody out there were crazy, and saying that when they've had items missing, everybody thinks they're crazy. People said that they always feel like there's somebody watching them from the woods. Kind of sounds like Bigfoot out there.
Right.
And this guy's been out there, unseen, unknown. Nobody quite knew if there was somebody out there, but they were thinking that there was. He's surviving on what he could steal from homes in the dead of night. He became a legend, or some maybe say he's a myth. He would leave his camp only at night, and when he walked through the forest, he'd memorize the trail. So he'd only step on his rocks or roots of trees, so he wouldn't leave any footprints. And there was a summer camp nearby, so he would steal candy, marshmallow, coffee, chips, and all that stuff. And when he was in one of the places, he'd always make sure that there was nobody there, no cars, no activity, because he didn't want to break in while somebody was in there. And he had a key that he found in there for the meat locker. And the camp was tired of being ripped off, so they finally installed at the request of the sheriff, or the state troopers, they put a motion detector in there, hidden in their kitchen area, because all the food was going missing. And when the alarm went off, it didn't go off in the building. It went off a half mile away at the game warden's house. So he jumped in his car and headed down there. And he peeked through the window of the dining hall and saw this guy in there stealing food. So he called the state troopers. And what they found out was that when they arrested this guy, they found out that his name was Christopher Thomas Knight. He was born December 7th of 1965. And he said he lived in the woods. He didn't know what year it was or what time it was or anything like that. He based all his time or years and all that stuff on events that happened. So the last thing he remembers before he went into the forest was the Chernobyl nuclear plant accident in 1986. He said that had just happened when he went into the forest. And he lost his habit of marking months and years, so he didn't know any year it was or what was going on. So when he was 20 years old when he went in, and he was now 47.
Wow.
He slept only in a tent. And he never, this is for Alan, he never lit a fire because the smoke he thought would give away his camp. So that's maybe why Bigfoot understand that too, that don't light a fire because it'll give you away.
Give you away.
He only moved at night. He didn't know whether his family was dead or alive. He never called them. Never drove a car after he went into the forest. And never spent any kind of money. He didn't know how to send an email. He had never heard of the internet. And
yeah, like I read he broke in like the same cabin 50 times.
Yeah, well, they had a town hall meeting or a homeowners association meeting, and they asked the homeowners in the meeting how many people have had break-ins. 75 people had raised their hand. So he was stealing from everybody.
Okay.
And he would steal not just food; he would steal clothing, shoes, anything. Toiletries.
So they arrested him for breaking and entering.
Yeah.
This is, well, so far they can only get him on just one thing, and that's just the meat locker.
No, he admitted.
Yeah, well,
he admitted
breaking. You can get him for robbery and theft.
He admitted to like 1,700 break-ins or something like that.
Oh.
Yeah. He said that he did about 40 robberies a year, which totaled in the 27 years that he was out there, totaled over 1,000. Yeah, so he would steal propane. He did have a propane stove, so he would steal propane tanks and clothes and shoes and all that stuff. He was wearing the same glasses that he wore because after they found out who he was, they wanted to verify who he was because he didn't have any ID.
Right.
They looked in the yearbook, and he was wearing the same glasses that he had on in his yearbook picture.
I was just looking at that, his glasses. You imagine if he needs his glasses, to even look 10 feet in front of him.
He said his vision was really bad and deteriorated, and that when he would rob somebody, if he saw glasses, he would try them on to see if his vision would be any better, and he couldn't find any that were the same.
Wow.
They made it any better.
Right.
But he said he had never been sick, and he's never had any medicine, never gone to the doctor. And he says that the reason why is because you get sick coming into contact with humans, and he'd never come into contact with humans. And a lot of people didn't believe that. He said he did come into contact only one time when he was walking down a trail. A hiker passed him, and all they did was exchange hellos, and that was it. It's the only word he spoke. When they first arrested him and when they were trying to talk to him, he couldn't really articulate because he had to learn how to talk again.
Right.
And because he hadn't communicated with anybody. There's no need to talk. And he did steal books. Every time he went into a home, he was reading books, anything that they had, just to keep his mind going. And
now, did he
27 years out there.
Did he say the reason why he disappeared into the woods? Did he commit a crime, or what was the purpose?
They asked him why, and he didn't really have an answer. He just said that one day he drove past his house just one last time. He drove down out to a forest road, drove to the end of it, got out of his car, started hiking. He had never spent the night in a tent. He'd gone camping before, but he stayed in the back of a pickup truck. He had never been in a tent before, and that night that he decided to just leave everything behind was the first night he spent in a tent. It was crazy.
Wow.
Weird.
Wow.
Yeah, but they think that he had a thing called Asperger's. I think I'm pronouncing it right. It's kind of an autism, where you're really intelligent and you have extreme sensitivity to emotion, sounds, and light. But it's an autistic thing that you're really intelligent. You know what you're doing, but you just don't want to be around people. And that's kind of what he did. He buried all his trash so nobody would find it. And he had a second camp set up above a mountaintop. And in case somebody did come by and find his camp, he would take off, and he would have a second camp already set up with supplies and everything.
Wow.
And after they found him, they wanted to confirm all this stuff. And the cops he told them where to go, and they finally found it. And this reporter that was interviewing him also wanted to find the camp too. And it took him 3 attempts. They told him the general area, and it took him 3 attempts to finally find it. He said it was he crawled around a boulder, and the whole area opened up, and there was his camp. Said it was surrounded by boulders, and there was a tree. The tree branches covered the boulders, and so there was a nice canopy there, which explained why he was so pale, because he had not seen sunlight, because he would only come out during the night. So he didn't really come out during the day. He hung out, and even during the winter, he would store up food and eat a lot of food. He wouldn't hibernate, but he wouldn't leave his camp area at night or any time, because he didn't want the snow people to see his footprints. So he would stay where he was, and he would go to bed early, around 7:30, and he'd get up around 2 o'clock in the morning, because he knew if he slept through the night that he would freeze to death during the winter. So he would get up and light the little stove that he had and walk around camp just to keep the blood circulating so he wouldn't go crazy. He knew how to survive somehow.
Wow.
27 years, and
27
they did
years.
confirm that he had been there for 27 years, because all the trash and the books and everything and the magazines that he had taken were all dated from 91, 86, and from so on. But everything that he said confirmed.
Did was there any 27 years is a long time. You're taking him for his word that that's all he did up there, as far as try to stay away from the people. People go missing a lot in the mountains. Are they going to try to pin any disappearances of people around this area on him, I wonder? Because
they didn't say anything about his disappearance. I mean, any of the disappearances that they're going to try to do, but they said that he may be autistic, so I don't know if he's capable of killing somebody. I think we all are, but he said that the inmates in jail, because he was talking to his reporter, at first he didn't want to talk to him, but he slowly started talking to him, and he said the inmates in jail were making fun of him because they said he spoke like he was in a book, because that's all he would read, the books and the magazines, so that's the way he learned to talk.
Wow.
So, but he was charged. They did end up charging him with only 13 counts of burglary. So he got 7 months in jail, and then he would be. He thinks his real sentence was being sent back into the real world, because he had to check in with his probation officer and all that stuff to make sure he got a job.
Wow.
Stayed sober and all that stuff. So
he's probably
he
going
to live out in the forest.
He's going to go right back in the forest. He's going to go right
People
back.
People are talking about getting him a Kickstarter account so that they can donate money, so he doesn't have to steal. He can just get the money from there.
He probably doesn't even know how to.
He doesn't know anything.
He doesn't know anything. There's no way.
He knows how to survive for 27 years.
Yeah. I mean, wow, that's a very cool story.
But he didn't say anything about a Bigfoot living out there.
That's what I'm going to be my next question. Has he seen any crazy stuff up there? And if he has, he's not going to tell anybody.
I don't think he'll say.
No. Wow. Take that to the grave. Take that to the grave.
I think he's lucky.
And so they asked him, too, why didn't you keep a journal? He said, well, I don't want to. Who's going to read it? I mean, after I'm gone, I'd rather just take everything with me.
Right.
I'm not going to say anything. So he did say that. So I'm not going to say anything. I'm just going to take everything with me to my grave.
Yep. Wow. Now, when he said he left his family, did he have kids, a wife, or?
No, he was only 20 years old. So his dad died in 2001. His mom was in her 80s, and he had two brothers. His two brothers came to visit him in jail, and he didn't want his mom to come and visit him because he didn't want her to see him in jail. So he should be out by now, and hopefully he's seen his mother, but he had no clue anything happened to what was going on with his family.
Right. Wow. What a story. Wow. What a trip. See, people, you can disappear in the forest if you want, and there are so many places to hide up there. It just, it's just, I mean, anybody. So
when stuff starts hitting the fan here, I mean, you got to pay attention to this guy, read the article, and pick up on some of the things he's saying, and maybe you'll be able to survive out there too.
Yeah. So, right on. Good story, man. All right. Next photograph, picture number 4.
Has a ton of pictures. There was actually more, but I couldn't get them all on there. I didn't want to blow up the site.
That's okay. All right. We got some cool statuettes. Go ahead and tell
them. We don't call them dolls. They're action figures.
Action figures, yes.
Yeah.
So
this
go
is from
ahead.
St Jean.
Yes.
He's got a creaturereplica.com page, and he's the sculptor of all these. He's got a creature replica company. Is his. He's the actual sculptor, and he used to work for Todd McFarlane, and they used to make, or they still do. They make those sports figures, and they make action figures for baseball, football, NFL, and movie action figures and all that stuff.
Uh-huh.
And he's a sculptor. He now works for Diamond Select Toys, and he makes the action figures for new movies like Sin City that's just coming out. He's made all the action figures for that. Kill Bill. He made Universal Monsters, the originals of Frankenstein, Creature from the Black Lagoon, Van Helsing, the Werewolf, and he's been contracted to make the Batman from 1960s. He's got a ton of incredible work, and he's also made the Falk monster for Lyle Blackburn, Legend of Buggy Creek.
Yep.
Yeah, and now he's moving on to cryptids.
These are
all the pictures that I sent you.
Right.
The cryptids.
Okay. So right now I'm sorry. Right now the photograph that I have is the 5 together.
Yeah.
Okay.
Those are the first release, and they're going to be coming out in April, 8 to 9 inches tall, depending on which one you look at. And the price range is going to be from $25 to $30. And you wanted to create figures from mythology and Native American legends, so he paid attention to all the legends and all that stuff. And these are how he got his inspiration for all these action figures. It's incredible detail on all of them. And I don't know if they're posable, or it kind of looks like they are. We'll have to ask him. And we got him for an interview tonight.
That's right.
He's going to be able to come on and give you more details about everything that's going on.
So after we talk to Danny Valderrama, we're going to have St Jean on the air tonight. We're going to talk about his work way back when he first started. And I actually have some of his work, I hope, in my studio right now. So we'll talk about that.
Yeah, you can see his work on DiamondSelectToys.com. Look on the side there, on the sidebar, and look under Batman. Universal Monsters.
What was his website, Creature? What was it?
CreatureReplica.com. But it's not 2 words, it's 1 word. It's CreatureReplica.com. That's his website, where you can see more pictures of these creatures. And then the DiamondSelectToys.com is where you can actually buy the stuff that he has out right now. The creatures won't be out till April. But you can buy the Batman, Universal Monsters, Kill Bill, Sin City on the Diamond Select Toys website.
Cool. All right, let's go to the next photograph, and that is this one here. And now I have the Skookum one.
Yeah, I think that one's got red eyes.
Yeah,
it's pretty cool.
Now, I wonder
like many of the reports.
Yeah, exactly. You know, Bigfoot and these large creatures. People say that the eyes turn red, and they're not necessarily red all the time, but I heard that they turn red when either they're mean or they get aggressive. Right, Alan?
And they even glow like lights, like at night.
Yeah, the one Joe Walsh saw up above Huntington Lake, he said it had red eyes.
Yeah.
I have some friends up in the foothills that was chased by something by Dinky Creek in the night, and it had red glowing eyes. It even chased their car 40 miles an hour. And they thought they were cool driving along, you know, and then look in the mirror and it was still chasing them. Then they really hit the pedal.
Yeah.
But it scared them pretty good. Yeah, it looks like you can move them around and stuff.
Right. Basically, action figures. That's what they are.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cool beans. All right, I'm going through the pictures here that you sent me. Now I'm at picture number 8. Now I've got the white.
You got plenty of time to save up your money before April.
All right. So I got what looks to be maybe possibly the abominable snowman, which is the very last one that I got up here. So cool beans. All right.
So save your lunch money. Stop eating.
Stop eating.
You'll be ready in April.
And someday I'll see one exactly of what I saw. I mean,
Never know.
People get close, really
Right.
close. I think the closest thing I ever saw to the one I saw is the Patters in Gehlen, except for the hips are too big. But everything about her is the same except for the hips. She had big hips. What I saw was more narrow, more buff like these toys.
Right.
I mean, really buff like these toys.
Wow. All right, what's going on? What out there, Mr. Danny?
That's it. We're going to turn it over to St. Jean.
Cool deal.
He can
All right.
fill you in on the rest of the details.
Cool beans. All right, Danny, thanks a lot. And thanks for getting Gene on the phone here. We're going to get Emerald to go ahead and dial him up. Thank you, man.
Perfect. Okay.
See ya.
See you guys.
Hi, Danny.
All right, go ahead and let's get Gene. St. Jean, Mr. Monster Inventor and
they all
Sculpture.
Look really buff looking, and they're in the buff, too.
Right.
Did you notice that?
Yeah?
Yeah. thought M would point that out. You know, they're all in the buff.
So Emerald is on the phone. Gonna get him on the line, and we're gonna talk to him. What? Oh, yeah. Okay, rock and roll. Hey, Gene, you there?
I'm here, man.
Right on,
Hi,
dude.
Gene.
How's it going?
Very good, man.
Thank
It's
you.
funny, I just found you guys a few weeks ago when you interviewed Kathy Strain.
Ah.
So I'm always kind of scanning, looking for new shows to listen to about Bigfoot and stuff like that. So that was kind of the first time I checked you guys out.
Right on. Hey, appreciate you, liking us. That's awesome. Well, Gene St. Jean, my name is Jeffrey, and my co-host is Ellen.
How you doing?
Right on.
So, where are you located? Are you in Southern California, or?
No, man, I'm on the East Coast. I'm in Jersey.
You're in Jersey. Wow. Right on. Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
home of the Jersey Devil.
There you go. All right. Well, hey, let's tell everybody first about you and where you started working and how you got started in all this, because I think I have some of your work already as it is. And now, but before we get into that, okay. So, how did you get involved in sculpting? I mean, where did that come from? I mean, obviously you got to be talented like crazy to do this, man.
Well, I actually went to school. I went to college for music because I was always in bands and stuff like that. And as is usually happens, it's kind of hard to follow that down any kind of pathway that takes you someplace. And I started. I got into toys as a collector, and then started gradually kind of doing some modifications, some custom stuff. And I got my first toy job about 20 years ago, and we did predominantly dolls and occasionally action figures. And I did that for about 5 years as sort of a pseudo internship. And then from there I moved on to McFarlane, and within probably a couple of years of working there, they put me in charge of their sculpting department. And when I was there, I worked on a lot of stuff like we did everything from Tortured Souls with Clive Barker. I did some work with H.R. Giger, interpreting some of his stuff for like reliefs we did, and a lot of their flagship character Spawn. And I was with those guys for around 6.5 years, and as they started to kind of move on into more stuff like sports and things, I kind of wanted to focus more on monsters and superheroes and everything. So from that point, I moved on to Diamond Select Toys, and I've been working with those guys for probably 10 years, and I do everything from Marvel Comics statues and action figures to a lot of their Batman 66 product right now, like you're saying before, also Sin City, Pulp Fiction, a lot of stuff. Universal Monsters, I developed all the Monsters stuff for them. And then I also do work for DC Comics through DC Collectibles. So I do a lot of Batman stuff for those guys. And I've worked on Thundercats for Mezco. So I'm kind of all over the place. I mean, you'd be pretty hard-pressed if you are a collector to not have anything I've done.
All right. Now, you said you worked for McFarlane. And what years did you work for McFarlane?
I think I started there around 98-ish. And then I think I left there in around 98. And then I left there probably around 2004, 2005.
Okay.
I was there for like about 6.5 years.
6.5 years. I'm a big X-File freak. All right, so I have all of the X-Files action figures. Were you involved in any of that?
Actually, I have an interesting story for you. I remember on the last show you were talking about how geeked you were on X-Files, and I am too. That's pretty much when I first started there, is when they were starting like the line that was going to come out right after the movie stuff.
Okay.
And we had actually developed 17 figures that were supposed to come out that never came out because they had kind of a dust-up with Chris Carter and with Fox, because we had developed, we had done all the Lone Gunmen, Skinner, the Smoking Man, all the creatures from the show. Like, I think the Fluke Man actually ended up coming out.
Okay.
But there was also I sculpted that Enigma guy, the guy with all the tattooed puzzle pieces on his body.
Right.
Like all the creatures pretty much, and all the rest of the characters, new versions of Scully and Mulder. And we were getting ready to go into Toy Fair that year in that February to show all this stuff. And apparently Fox hadn't been passing all the stuff on to Chris Carter. So he starts looking at it for the first time, and he got all bent out of shape because he felt like he wasn't in the loop, and it became this big kind of mess. So finally, Todd got PO'd and was just like, screw it, we're pulling everything. And that was the end of it right then.
Oh, man.
So, yeah, it was right when we got into all the really cool parts from the show.
Right.
I mean, the alien stuff was cool, but I would have loved to have a figure of that bat guy that came out of the barn and was, you know, killing people in that family for like a couple decades. And
Dude.
there was, you know, the Frankenstein guy from that weird kind of black and white episode.
Yeah, I remember
But
that one.
we developed all of that, and it just got shelved because of this little kind of a dust-up between the company heads.
Wow. Well, that
Yeah.
sucks. That sucks. Cause, you know,
Heartbreaker, huh?
yeah, like I said, you know, I have a lot of the X-Files and pretty much everything. So McFarlane put out from the X-Files. So I was just curious, but that's awesome. Well, at least you're, you know, X-Files was the show that I think started it for everybody. I personally think. But that's awesome. All right. Well, hey, so you're definitely into the monsters, the Bigfoot, the paranormal monsters, you know, the mythical creatures. Now, you mentioned mythical creatures. You know, that can take you to a different direction. Now, when you say mythical creatures, what are you talking about?
Well, like the original inception of the creature replica thing was me and my partner Jeff Byers. He was the guy that originally came to me with kind of the backing and everything, and he really wanted to do it, but he needed somebody to kind of spearhead the sculpting end of it. And as soon as he started talking about it, I was like, "Hold on, dude, you had me with Bigfoot. I'm in." So then we started talking about the original line was going to actually be all just kind of relic hominid type creatures. It was originally going to be a Sasquatch, a Yeti, an orang pendek, and a Yowie. But then as we kind of had a side deal we're working on with our friends over at Horror Hound magazine, we wanted to develop an action figure of their mascot, the Horror Hound, that's in those pictures there, who's, you know, he's sort of a made-up cryptid, you know, but
right.
really cool looking. So originally he was going to kind of be a separate thing, but we ended up putting him in the line, and we figured, well, if we're going to have one werewolf in there, why don't we do another one that can kind of be our werewolf / dogman? So I developed it as a Louisiana rougarou, which is basically kind of an offshoot of the old French kind of loup-garou type werewolf mythology.
Okay.
And so that one right there, that sort of straddles cryptozoology and mythology there, because we figured as we started to expand on the idea that rather than just doing cryptids, you can take a look at, you know, old world Europe, and basically vampires and zombies and werewolves, things like that, they're basically cryptozoology from the Middle Ages. So it still fits within kind of our mission statement, plus it gives us an excuse just to do any kind of cool monster that kind of crops up at any given time, you know. So for us right now, like, we're limiting each line to 4 figures just because of the excessive cost, but
right.
Basically, we're looking at it like kids in a candy store. There's so many cool things to do, and no one's doing anything like it.
No.
Because typically toy companies don't like to gamble on unknowns, and this stuff's unknown. It's not like if you do figures from a Spider-Man movie or the Avengers or any kind of known property or a video game or something, you're in pretty safe territory that you have a built-in audience. With stuff like this,
right.
You can speculate that, okay, all the people really into Bigfoot and cryptozoology in general and all these different things, maybe we'll get them. You're not necessarily guaranteed that you're going to have crossover with people that actually buy toys. So, you know, we didn't get any real... There was no big company that bid on the idea when I had pitched it a few times. So when Jeff came up to me and offered the opportunity to do it, I was like, yeah, dude, let's do it now.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, you know, you came up with a good point that there's not, at this point in time, a good avenue to promote that type of product. You know, granted, you have shows like us, but there's nothing quite on TV where you can promote any of this stuff. You know, you can go to Comic-Con and con this and con that, but until you can place your stuff in front of a big-time audience, then, you know, you have people who like this stuff, but they're not going to tell you they like this stuff. You know what I'm saying? And what we got going here on our show, you know, we just got lucked out and just got offered our own TV show, and this is the kind of avenue where we want to promote authors and people like you who have cool products, and there's nowhere to go to push it. Damn it, you're going to come here. And we're going to, you know, the next thing you sculpt, dude, we're going to have you sit down. We're going to show it to millions and millions of people. And then, you know, those people are going to go, damn it, I want one. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So yeah.
That's what we're open for.
Absolutely. So, you know, when Danny told me, I've heard about your stuff, and I know about you, and, you know, who doesn't, who's into this type of stuff. But when you started to come out with, you know, these mythical creatures, and, you got your Bigfoot, your Dogman, you know, you still have, like, the Chupacabra, you know, you have your Mothman, you know, you still have those two that you can come out with, and I'm sure there's a lot more out there as well, but...
Initially we specifically wanted to stay away from all the real typical creatures right off the bat, because obviously, like you're saying, there's a few there's kind of the Justice League of cryptozoology. You know, you have Sasquatch, Yeti, like you said, Jersey Devil, Chupacabra, Mothman. They're your big guns.
Right.
And those are the ones that everyone absolutely expects you to come out with first. So we figured I really badly wanted to do a cool Sasquatch and a cool Yeti, because there's never been a decent-looking sculpt of a Sasquatch. And no one's really ever done a Yeti any kind of justice. So I definitely wanted to get those in. And then, you know, we've just been kind of holding off on the other guys that are kind of staples so that we can explore some more kind of more obscure ones.
Sure.
Like the one kind of crossover thing we're doing for Wave 2, the only thing we've announced so far, I just started sculpting the second series, and what we're doing for Wave 2 is an alien gray.
Oh.
And we have I have kind of a cool angle on how we're going to present it. And we'll probably show it in a couple of months. But that was Jeff's idea. He wanted to really get an alien into the next line, and it's not really cryptozoology, but UFOs is kind of another subject that I'm sort of geeked out on. So there was no issue for me doing that.
Okay. Now, I don't know if you know this, but we're having a set made for our show right now that's going to be, you know, on TV. Give me some of your stuff, dude, and I will have a shelf in the back, and I will every time you come out with one, we're going to put it right on that shelf.
That sounds cool.
All right.
When actually is your show starting?
We're going to start filming in October, and it's going to be in the central part of California. So it's going to hit a couple of million homes, and then eventually it's going to start heading eastward, and then it's going to take off.
Nice. That's awesome.
So yeah, so I mean,
love to do some kind of crossover thing with you guys.
Absolutely, and like I said, you know, we're always looking for stuff to put on the set, and I'm liking your stuff big time, and I see a spot right behind us on a shelf, dude. So you have a spot if you want it.
Right on.
All right, sweet. All right, now, you know, in order to sculpt these sculptures or these, you know, action figures, you have to have an idea of what you're doing. Now, did you talk to people? Did you talk to witnesses? How did you get the idea for each individual sculpture?
Well, a lot of it, I read a lot about the subject. Particularly, I like going back to the real old books and, like, reading the stories like that you get from, like, John Green's old book and J.W. Burns, and reading stuff like the Eight Canyon Incident from Fred Beck. And then some of the real old books from, like, the early 60s and 70s by Ivan Sanderson and John Napier. And they get really into kind of describing different variations on relic hominids and possible unknown relic populations of primates and things. And in addition to that, I supplemented that with, like, I've taken some of my own kind of witness reports from different people I've met online and things. And, you know, obviously you talk to some people where they come off like just regular people who saw something kind of screwy, you know, and they sound pretty legit. And then you talk to some people who really sound like they're, you know, whacked. So you kind of, I mean, you guys deal with it a lot more than I do.
Right.
You know how it is. I mean, you kind of have to filter through the stuff. and see what you think is appropriate and what sounds interesting. And also, I've always had kind of a predisposed idea of what I wanted something like this to look like when I get into it. So obviously all that stuff kind of gets blended together and passes through my filter as far as what I want to see aesthetically as well. Like, an interesting note on the first line, I read a lot of stuff about the Yeti. The abominable snowman is one of my favorite creatures, and if you read a lot of the traditional folklore about the Yeti, he's really never seen as a big white snow creature. They're typically more like a orang type pongid creature, and with reddish fur or dark fur, pretty similar to how a Sasquatch is described, except there's about 3 different varieties. There's like a little tiny one, and then there's a kind of a man-sized one called a Mettet that's around 5-6 feet tall, and basically it's described more or less like a Sasquatch. And then there's a Zute, which is the massive one, which is like, supposedly over 9 feet tall. So while I was developing the line, even though traditionally a Yeti never looks like what I did, if I did like a red-colored Yeti for commercial purposes, no one would really get it, So I really wanted to see just a big, white, terrifying ape creature. So that was the one where I went off the track. I talked about it with my partner, Jeff, and we were like, yeah, it'd be much cooler to just do him huge and white. And then later on, if we want to do a real witness-perfect Yeti, we can go back and do one of the other ones that supposedly, they kind of make their way through the Arun Valley, kind of tropical valley, up through the snowfields and things like that. Do something a little more legit, but, how could I not do just a big badass white ape,
Right. Yeah, I just put him on the screen right now, the one you're talking about, and just, yeah, that would scare the what out of anybody if they came up to it.
Yeah.
That's bad. All right, cool. Out of the how many have you sculpted? This is your first line, and they're not going to come out until April, Danny was saying?
Yeah, typically with action figures, there's basically between a 7 to 9 month lead time you need to produce an action figure because of the injection molding process.
Okay.
So it takes me a few months to develop the line of figures sculpturally and to mold them and cast them and paint up a set for the factory. And then once those go to the factory, then they start creating the steel molds for them. So from that point straight through to when you have a packaged piece on the shelf, generally ends up around 9 months. So you can shortcut it a little bit, but right now I'm figuring April is what the street date will be on these. And
okay.
The parent company of Diamond Select Toys, Diamond Comic Distributors, is going to handle them.
All right.
So you'll be able to get them at any comic shop. Online retailers like Big Bad Toy Store are going to carry them. And plus, we'll post on our web page and also on our Facebook page.
Sweet. Where
other places will be, but you'll be able to get them pretty easily.
Okay, cool. Do we know how much they're going to run yet?
Yeah, the ballpark that I'm looking at is between $25 and $30 a piece. They're pretty big figures.
Oh.
They have a base, and I basically did them in scale so that if you had a human figure in this line, the human figure would be about 7 inches tall, like your average, like Marvel Select or DC kind of 6 to 7 inch scale figure, so that your Sasquatch in relation to a human character would look like he was about 8 feet tall. And then the Yeti would look like 9 to 10 feet tall.
Dude.
So if you put any normal human figure in there, like a Spider-Man or something, the Sasquatch is going to tower over him like he should in reality.
Dude, you are thinking, man. You are thinking. Sweet.
Yeah, I'm just not pulling this stuff out of my head. I mean, it's
right.
I've done tons of research on this stuff, and I talk to witnesses to supplement what I read in books and things. And because I want to, ideally, I want the line to sell, of course, but I really want to be able to kind of push the idea of this as, another branch of science, not just a fantasy thing, but something where people can buy our figures. We'll post links on our website to cool books, cool, shows like yours, anything that comes up that can kind of expand people's mind as far as looking into this field of interest, to show that it is potentially a legitimate field of study.
Absolutely.
It's not like mythology.
Right.
You know, you can't argue with 200 years of Native American stories and things. I mean, those are the things that I find incredibly compelling. Is you go through, well, you guys talked to Kathy Strain. That was an important book for me, too. And you go back through all the tribes in the United States, she said, except for a couple, they all have similar stories about this creature. And then there's these type of creatures allegedly around the globe. And even if you eliminate half of it as being people making up stories or misidentifying bears and things, that still leaves an awful large percentage of things that you can't account for logically. And you just can't put them all in the category of nonsense. You know, so
not everyone is hallucinating. I mean, you have your credible people, dude. I mean, you have your police officers, your military, your Department of Forestry, like Kathy Strain. Kathy Strain pretty much came out and said they're real. She works for the government, the Department of Forestry. She saw someone. She actually seen some with her own eyes. So what? Are we gonna pretty much say that she's out of her frickin' mind? No, she's not. So
you can pretty much sort out the kooks pretty fast.
Right.
So I talk to a lot of people, and you can tell there's just some people that they're just average people, unless they're really sociopathic or something, and they're really able to hide it. You can tell the lunatics,
right.
And then you can tell the people that are like sort of hesitant to tell you the story because it's kind of mental to tell someone something like that.
Absolutely.
Right. It's sort of earth-shattering.
Right. It is. Monsters are not supposed to be real. That's the stuff you see on TV.
Right.
They're not up in our mountains. You're out of your frickin' mind. And that's what we're trying to push here on our show is don't be afraid to come out if you have a story. If you actually saw something, damn it, we'll come out and tell us because, we believe you here on this show. I work for AT&T. I have a credible job. I'm not whacked. I'm married with children. But you know what? There are people witnessing these things out there. And the more people that come out, the better. And even with you coming out with this line of toys, there's a reason people are going to walk down the aisle and all of a sudden see this Bigfoot and this, dog man. And he's going to wonder, well, wait a minute. Why are these out here? There's got to be a reason, not just that you guys are making money, but obviously, someone has seen these things, and otherwise that's where you got the idea to sculpture them. So, yeah, I totally understand where you're coming from, and that's awesome that you're doing this because it's going to, it's going to give somebody the chance to talk about this at the water cooler. You know what I'm saying? And
exactly. Yeah. I mean, I've been dying to do something like this for a long time, and it's just you guys see some of the work I do. I'm swamped year round with my regular commercial work, and I love what I do. But this just allows me another kind of offshoot of that to do even cooler stuff. That's just that I don't have to work with an art director. Me and Jeff talk about it, find a direction on it, and then we do what we really want to see. And we have complete latitude to decide, we've talked about stuff like the Rang Pendek, and if there's a major discovery, like if they finally document that little dude, or if someone finally comes down the road with the definitive evidence on Sasquatch with like real clear photographs, or they come up with a carcass or something, we're immediately going to jump on that, and that guy's going right into production right away.
Right.
Oh, yeah. We want to be on the cusp of it. We want it to become zoology, not cryptozoology.
Right.
Well, you're hitting the time, like for the Bigfoot and all these that you have here. You're hitting like the timing couldn't be better.
Right. I mean, and I don't care what channel you're on, either if it's National Geographic or Sci-Fi. You're switching the channels, dude. You're gonna run into a UFO show or a Bigfoot show or a monster show.
Oh, yeah.
It's all up there. And why do the networks constantly keep putting these shows out there? Because people watch them.
Absolutely.
You have your police officers and your doctors who make $1 million a year, come home after a day's work, and they scroll into the channel, they see a UFO channel, man, they're going to stop. They're going to stop. You know, everybody believes in this stuff, and they want it to be so real. And like you said, you know, they're hoping that one of these days someone like us is going to come down with the body, man, and it's just going to blow everybody's minds.
Because like you said, I mean, it's not just kooks reporting this stuff. I went to a barbecue last summer with my wife, one of her friends from high school, and I became friends with the dude too. We hang out sometimes, and I had just hooked up with Jeff on this stuff, and I started telling this guy about it, and he's like, oh, I got a story for you. Turns out this dude, he was an Army Ranger in the 80s, and they did a training exercise in the Cascade Mountains out in Washington. And basically what they would do is they'd put these guys on a chopper, they'd fly them out into the middle of freaking nowhere and just drop them off. So they did this, some kind of communications exercise. It was like 14 guys altogether. There was like 2 officers. And while they were out there, they were harassed by some kind of creature, basically doing all the typical stuff, making howls and throwing stuff at them and all these different weird things. Some things that you could definitely maybe attribute to a bear, but a bear can't really throw stuff at you.
No.
You know, I see bears all the time where I live. I've almost walked into the damn things a couple times because there's a lot of them in Jersey, and I've seen them up close, and they don't look like a freaking primate, no matter how many skeptics want to say that Bigfoot is just a bear walking its hind legs.
Right.
But these guys, they had some kind of encounter with it, and when they found out later on that it's really common for the training groups that go into these areas, in these remote areas of the Cascades, to have these run-ins with creatures. And he said even the remote Army bases, I mean, I'm sure you guys have heard these stories before.
Yeah.
On the really remote Army bases, the guys that are pulling sentry duty see the things all the time, creeping up to just within the outline of the lights, where the lights reach and stuff, and they get completely waked out.
Right.
He had told me that there was even a guy that ended up moving up to the rank of general that had like a face-to-face pretty much encounter with one of these things on a training thing. And that story never really went outside of their little group of guys, because you'd be nuts. Your career would be over if you brought it up. So the military is definitely aware of these things being
right.
there.
I totally agree. Our government knows. They're there. Our military know. It's just okay. Then, Gene, why do you think they're keeping this a secret then?
Well, I guess there's all the typical reasons, you know. Do they really think that in this modern era, when you can gather like any data you want in a heartbeat off the internet, is really the discovery of an 8-foot ape or relic hominid, is that really going to blow people's minds or shake their religious convictions? I don't think so. To me, it kind of seems like, granted, on the one hand, it'll be the greatest scientific discovery of the 20th century. But on the other hand, you know how things are. It'll be like, we discovered Sasquatch, and next week, one of those idiot Kardashians will do something stupid, and that'll be the next big story, and people will kind of forget about the Sasquatch the week before. You know, that's the way people are. So maybe they still think, though, that it's going to have that type of impact, but maybe not socially. Maybe it's more like that. People always talk about the thing with the what was that, owl or whatever they were worried about, and then they cordoned off this huge area, and they're worried that it's going to mess up the logging and things like that.
Spotted owl.
That they'll have to put aside all this protected territory, and there's so many aspects of it that you could argue, I guess, why. But it comes right down to, why does the government do anything? I don't personally think that they're competent enough to keep a secret, but it's, the conspiracist in me thinks that, well, it could be just a small section of the government that's keeping this compartmentalized.
Right. Right.
I'm sure they have their reasons.
Yeah. Now, we talk about missing people all the time, and Kathy Strain, actually, we were on an episode on Monsters and Mysteries with Kathy Strain, and there's a lot of people going missing in our parks and in the mountains and national parks, and
the Pallades books. You're talking about Missing 411 and all that.
Yeah, exactly.
Right on.
Why do you think maybe these people are going missing because of these creatures?
Well, take it right back to Native American folklore.
Yeah.
In Native folklore, 9 times out of 10, the Sasquatch is a creature that they had respect for, but generally they kept clear of them because they would steal children, they were cannibalistic, and they were a creature to be respected and feared.
Right.
They were also looked at as kind of a spiritual creature in a way too, like coyote or something like that. But if you stick with Native folklore, these are not creatures to be screwed around with. So,
no, you've been doing your homework.
It's just, oh yeah, in the modern era, all of a sudden there's this mentality that this creature is like Harry and the Hendersons, and there's nothing in Native folklore that says that these are huge, gentle creatures. I mean, they've kind of built this personality for them that's kind of like a caricature. Like I said, like Harry and the Hendersons, or like the sort of personality of a mountain gorilla. A very placid, kind of eats, an agrarian kind of personality, vegetarian, rather than more like a chimp, which is more warlike and violent. And I kind of have to go with the folklore on it. I mean, the modern stuff's interesting, but where did that come from? Who started the whole thing? There was no stories. Even if you go back to the Fred Beck thing, and a lot of those early encounters, whether you want to believe them as being legit or not, there's very little folklore that shows these things to be very gentle.
Right.
But the flip side that always sticks in my head about that is if these creatures were really this dangerous across the boards, because if they're maybe more in the realm of a hominid, people, in our own society, we have people that are mellow, you have people that are complete lunatics and sociopaths. There's a whole range of personalities. Could be with this too. You may have rogue male Sasquatches that are out there just hunting people in the forest. And then there may be whole communities of these things that really just keep to themselves. They got their own thing that they do, and they try to just completely stay away from human society because they understand the dangers for them.
Right.
So, I don't know. I don't think the berry-eating buddy kind of thing is necessarily completely legit. That's why, like, when people go into the forest and they're not armed or anything like that, at the very least, you should be going into the forest with bear mace.
You know what? What you just said right now is basically word for word what we've been trying to tell people. I got into it with, and I was going to talk about this after we talked to you tonight, but I got into it with somebody on Facebook a couple days ago, where this hiker from the Bay Area went up to the Sierras east of Fresno, went hiking about 12,000 feet, and he got lost or whatever. Well, they found his body. He's dead, right? And somebody, it was on the ABC News wall on Facebook, and one guy said, well, if he took a whistle with him, then he would have been probably fine, and nothing would have happened to him. And I'm thinking, I'm going, dude, it's got to be out of your freaking mind. There are things in the mountains, in the forest, that kill you. Yeah. Let's not even talk about Bigfoot. Let's talk about mountain lions and bears.
Absolutely.
All right? So don't be telling me that a whistle is going to save your ass from something up, stupid, dude, stupid. So I totally agree with you. There are probably some nice ones and some really mean ones. Alan, my co-host, is quarter Cherokee, and he has friends in the reservations. What you just told us have been telling him for years. They don't go by themselves. They don't let their kids and their wives go up by themselves because folklore has told them, even back in the days, they used to have wars with Bigfoot, that they would come in, steal the children and the women, and they would eat them.
Right.
So, are you going to tell us that all of these, Native Americans and that's throughout the United States are all telling us the same thing? Well, obviously, there's got to be some fact there.
Yeah.
So
that's that's why when it's down to that old argument in the community about whether these things are actually apes or whether they're actually people. If they're people, they're a lot more dangerous than apes, because apes can be dangerous on their own in just sort of a primal fashion. But if these things are nearly as intelligent of people as people and have the warlike tendencies of people, then they're super freaking dangerous.
And if they're like 10 foot tall and weigh what 800 to 1,000 pounds, fully ripped with muscle, man, they're going to just rip your head off.
Yeah, exactly.
You know,
exactly.
and that's what I see
it's
in
probably a mix.
Right, and that's what I see in your sculptures. You know, I'm seeing, you know, the Bigfoots and the abominable snowmen. They're ripped. You know, I see the muscles and the sightings. Matter of fact, Alan, my co-host, had a sighting in the 90s, right, or 2000? Was it
87?
In 87.
You know what I was noticing, like out of what I saw, the Bigfoot I saw was more buff in the shoulders and arms and chest, and its legs weren't as buff. Okay, I mean that, and the legs were pretty long, and then the hair covered the whole face except for around the eyes.
Right. So
it was jet black.
Right.
But I mean, he was so buff in the chest and arms. From a distance, it looked like he was wearing one of those down puffy jacket coat things. You know, and it looked like his whole top half was just blown up, you know, from a distance. And when he got close, then I realized that was all muscle. That
hey, dude, could you tell from that distance? Could you tell what his nose was like? Did he have kind of a long hooded nose like we do, or sort of an in between, or was it more like a gorilla kind of open nose? What did his nose look like?
That was I didn't get a really. He was about 45 yards from me.
And plus, the face is covered by her hair, probably hard to see.
Yeah, I seen his eyes really good, but his nose I didn't see that well because it looked like, you know, like if have you seen the Patterson-Gimlin film?
Oh yeah, of course.
You know how Patty has like skin around her eyes, but then the rest of her face is like covered with the fur.
Right, sort of like one of those Mexican wolf boy dudes.
Yeah, kind of like that.
Her suit, whatever that's hypertrichosis they call it, I guess.
Yeah, and I watched him for almost 2 hours, so I really got to look at him, you know, and as he got closer and closer, you know, and the sun was coming up and it was getting brighter and brighter, I got a really good look. But only not. I wanted to look at his face, and I left the binoculars in the cab over camper, and I had a rifle on me with a 6x18 scope, variable, and I just where he saw me is when I clicked the door open. I was trying to wrangle the rifle around inside the cab so I could look at him through the scope really good, but I couldn't. The rifle was a long one, a 300 Magnum, so it wouldn't, like, you know,
right, yeah, not maneuverable.
Yeah, so I opened the door and he heard the door click, and we locked eyes, and then he took off running so graceful and fast, and I mean better than a track runner. I mean this guy was graceful. He wasn't clunky like you see on Finding Bigfoot, like you know. This guy. So he never. You know,
while he was taken off, did he at any point drop down to all fours and start loping like a dog or something, or a chimp? I mean, I know a lot of people think they go down to that they're also quadrupedal, but to me that never really made much sense, because like if you look at the skeletal anatomy of a human and like a gorilla or a chimp, the orientation of the pelvis just doesn't lend itself towards upright walking. I mean, you can see pictures of like that gorilla from that London zoo that'll walk along like a dude going to work in the morning with a briefcase.
Right.
But they kind of waddle.
Yeah, this thing,
I can't see him move. I can't see a gorilla move in its speed upright. So it's just, you know, like if you got down, I mean, there's people that do that parquet stuff that can run fast on all fours, but it's not a natural thing. So I can't see these things being able to take off on all fours as well as on 2 feet. So the one you've seen, he booked just on 2 feet, right? Well,
yeah, and when he was like a distance, like 300 yards, 400 yards out, I thought it was a man. For over an hour, I thought it was a man. He was moving like a man. He walked like a man. All his movements were a man. I mean, I was getting ready to chew the guy out for wearing black during deer season, right? But then when the sun actually lit him up, he stopped and the sun lit up his whole front half, or his whole front of his body, and he was facing me pretty much. It was like, holy crap.
Yeah, you must have freaked.
Oh my God. I didn't go camping again for 6 years. Really, I didn't. It scared me that bad.
Oh.
But only I would love to see one like that. I was just telling Jeff right before the show, I've never seen, nobody's ever got one exactly what I saw yet. But,
you know what you got to do, dude, is send me a private message on Facebook and give me your description of the thing, like everything you saw, because I like collecting that stuff just to be able to build it into what I'm doing,
Sweet. Yeah.
Well, I have some ideas too that I don't want to say them on the radio because everything I say gets stolen.
No, I hear you. I'm right there with you, man.
But I have some ideas that might work into like a toy thing too that I've been wanting to do.
Yeah.
And it's based on the Bigfoots and everything and how they are, in the wild, and I think you'll like the idea.
Well, send them over a text on Facebook. So
Yeah,
then,
I will,
so
yeah.
okay, let's.
I think I've been seeing some of his stuff with
yeah.
Brian's Sons and Lyle Blackburn. I think.
The
has
Boggy.
some stuff. Yeah.
Big time.
Oh, yeah.
All right, okay.
Yeah, that was actually, the Boggy Creek thing was the first thing I did in this kind of realm, because I was a fan of Lyle's book and found him on Facebook.
Right.
And he came back to me, he was like, dude, how, you want to work on a statue to go with my book? And I was like, yeah, absolutely.
Man, that rocks, dude. Okay, all right. So right now you have the 5 pieces that we're showing on the air right now. That is going to be available in April, right?
Yeah, actually, the way it's going to break down is the four main figures are the red-colored Sasquatch, the Yeti, the Horror Hound werewolf, and the Rougarou, the gray werewolf. The Skookum, and then I have 2 other variations on the Sasquatch that are going to be retailer exclusives. So they're going to pop up at a different time than the main wave.
Oh, okay.
Like if an online retailer or something decides to carry one of the exclusives, then they could come out at the same time, or they may come out like mid-year. Plus, we have some other kind of secret projects that may kind of pop up in between the regular waves, because we just have so many things we want to do that just one line a year is just not going to be able to cover it.
No.
So we're hoping to be able to get to a point where we start putting out 2 waves a year,
Wow.
and then some other kind of other side projects that'll pop up like out of nowhere. That we won't even announce until right before they come out, just so that people are still kind of surprised here and there with what's up with what we're doing.
I hope with your gray you're going to put out a flying saucer, dude. You better.
Well, I'm not going to get into the specifics, but you'll dig it. I have a really cool idea of how we're going to approach it.
All right, that's what I want to hear.
Sweet.
All right. Let's give out everybody's your information Facebook page.
Well, you know what our chat is saying?
What? Hold on.
They're saying make a night crawler. And I don't even know.
Have you ever heard of the night crawler?
As a cryptid or the X-Men guy?
X-Men. No, actually, this is a well, you know what? I'm gonna have to message you on.
It's like a little alien.
Yeah, it's an alien that got videotaped in Fresno, California, walking across somebody's yard.
Was it like kind of white looking?
Yeah, it was white with long legs and about 3 feet tall.
I think I did see it, but send it to me anyway. I'm pretty sure I saw it.
Okay. I'll send you some information on it. All right.
Saying send the real one. Send the real one.
No, I'll send them there's the real link, the real video on YouTube. I'll send you the link on that one. So okay. All right. So sweet. All right. Tell everybody how to get, like, you have a website, I'm sure.
Yeah, the company website is creaturereplica.com, all one word, like on your the promo stuff you put up on the Art Bell site.
Okay.
And then we also have a couple of pimp pages on Facebook. One of them is facebook.com/creaturereplica. There's also my regular studio page, which is St. Jean Studios LLC, which is facebook.com/St Jean Studios. If you just look up my name, you'll find all my stuff pretty easily, because my name's so friggin' weird that there's only me and a bunch of churches in Canada. So you can find my stuff pretty
All right.
So they could actually like Google your name, right? And all
yeah,
those
and you'll
websites
find
will
tons
come
of
up.
my work on, like, I did a ton of stuff for Stargate Atlantis, all sorts
Sweet.
of stuff. There's
Wow.
all sorts of things. And then I have another kind of gallery page on DeviantArt, and that's Black Plague 1348 at .deviantart.com. Again, if you find me on Facebook, I'll be more than happy to point people to all the other stuff.
Okay,
Yeah,
sweet.
they're saying they're already going and liking your page right now.
Okay, sweet.
All right.
All right, Jane. I am totally serious about like I said, the set's being built right now. So if you want to get your stuff before it hits the stores and put them on our show, so that way everybody will start salivating and seeing your work before it hits the actual stores. I would love to carry your product on the set, dude. So every time you come out with one, we'll stick it right behind us.
That sounds awesome, man.
All right, cool. All right, Jane, appreciate you coming on tonight and talking with us. I like your passion on the creatures, and I think you're a believer just like us.
He's an knower.
And I see it in your work, because it's all there, man.
Yeah.
It's all there. So, all right, dude. Thank you very much for coming on. And Danny will keep in contact. He's our Sasquatch reporter. He's the one who put us in contact with you. And if we have to send some information towards you, I'll have Danny do it for me. All right.
Cool. Thanks for the opportunity, guys. I appreciate it.
Thanks,
Thanks, Gene. We'll talk to you soon. All right.
Yeah, later, guys.
Okay. See ya.
Yeah, we'll talk
Bye.
to him real soon. At least I will.
What?
I'm going to talk to him real soon.
So right on. All right, that was a surprise. Like that was actually made possible with Danny, our Sasquatch guy. Leave it to him to get him on the air. That's awesome. All right, that was cool. Let's go ahead and put the camera back on the side. So
his picture is rocks, man. He has all that stuff back in there.
And
Man.
there is he's probably I probably have some of his work.
Oh, yeah.
That's in my other room that I just at this time didn't have out here.
Your kids probably have.
Probably.
I know my kids do.
Well, I mean, I'm showing, right now on TV, on the live stream, I have all of the X-Files, and it was done by McFarland. So he got in there. He was giving the dates, and I think this was put out almost the time he just came into McFarland. So he might have had. He said he did, and I have some of the statuettes and some of the sculptures in my other room that I'll bring out next time and show you guys what I'm talking about.
Like,
so.
I have kids that are all into the Marvel.
Oh yeah.
DC comics. I mean, they collect them. They have big, boxes full of these comic
big
books
time.
and all the little figurines. And I bet you they got a lot of stuff of his.
So, and that's too bad. I was bummed to hear him say that they had a whole second line of X-Files stuff that they wanted to release, and it never made it out of the drawing board or actual. That sucks.
Can you imagine how much value there is to those ones that never came out? There's only like one of them.
Well, you know what? He, the X-Files. I heard Chris Carter is thinking about doing a new movie, so I'm sure they can talk to Chris and possibly make it happen with the release of the new movie, which will be probably in a couple of years anyways. So that'll give them enough time to get in there and to do some more X-Files stuff. And man, I'm all over it. So, all right, let's go ahead and continue on. We got 45 minutes left. And, when we were talking with Gene, and he mentioned about, how do we know Bigfoots are dangerous and not dangerous? And I was telling him about I got into it with a guy on Facebook, and it's because the mentality that these people have, and we're not talking about Bigfoot, we're just talking about people who go hiking. As a matter of fact, what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to put something on the on our live stream that I just got. I just found out. Well, actually, it's been a while, but a hiker from the Bay Area. All right, he went hiking in the Sierras by himself, about 12,000 feet elevation, and he told people where he was going. Well, he went missing. They found his body last week, all right, dead. That's it. They're not telling us how, where. They found his body, okay? And this guy posted on he was replying to the comment made by Channel 47 ABC News, and he said, if this guy would have taken a whistle with him, I bet you he would have probably survived. And I thought, what is this guy thinking? And that's what we're trying to get across here, is that, for one thing, I am tired of people going hiking by themselves. You guys need to stop right now. Stop. Okay? There are people dying on a weekly basis, probably 2 or 3 times a week up in the mountains, and they're finding your bodies. And some of them they're not finding. Okay? You guys need to stop hiking by yourselves. And if you do decide to go hiking, take a gun with you. Not a whistle or not a mace. Okay? Stop with that stupidity of, if you run into trouble, you're going to be able to use a whistle and get out of trouble. When you're 12,000 feet up in the middle of nowhere and there's nobody around, a whistle is not going to do you any good if you fall off a cliff, break your ankle, or if a bear is trying to attack you, and that goes the same for a mountain lion. A whistle is not going to do a damn thing.
No, take a big gun. But
all right.
You know what? I really, the whistle, if you're with a group of people,
then yes,
the whistle could save your life. And,
maybe.
And, one day, I was on a deer hunting trip once, and I jumped out of the car. It was starting to snow, and we were like 7,500 feet. And these guys had a whistle, and they were blowing the whistle. If they didn't have the whistle, they would have died.
Right.
I mean, I went in and found them, and then brought them back out. But
you were. I mean,
they lucked out. If I didn't stop for the deer to shoot at the deer,
right, they would have probably died. They would have died
because it was snowing and it was getting dark already.
Right.
And it took me about half an hour to actually figure out where they were, anyways, and to locate them. And when I brought them out, they were about 5 miles from their car. I gave them a ride back to their car, but they would have been toast.
Right.
So I'm saying whistle's good, gun's better.
No, whistle's good if you're with people.
Right.
Okay.
Well, even if you're not, somebody might stop and hear it, like me.
That was probably 1,000,000 to 1 long shot, dude.
Yeah. But it could happen.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Is a whistle going to save you if a bear comes at you?
No, actually, it'll draw the bear to you.
Okay.
And actually, so will a Bigfoot come and like, hey, there's somebody whistling over there. Let me go check them out.
That's dinner.
Yeah.
That's dinner. Keep whistling. Okay. So just, you guys need to change the mentality now that you're going to be fine if you go hiking by yourself and you take a whistle. That's bull crap.
Yeah, I think my sisters on here went, like, when we camped, they gave us a whistle, kids. But they didn't know, like, if I would have known what I know now, I would have never left camp.
Right.
I would have stayed in camp without, unless I was carrying a big gun.
Right.
I was an idiot.
Well, no, because you didn't know about Bigfoot, for one thing. And back then, people were going missing all the time, but you didn't have the media or social network to get out the information like we do now and notice these things on Facebook and Twitter about how many people are going missing.
Have you noticed how many posts David Paulides has
He's been posting like crazy.
Yeah, and he's saying all these things line up. I mean, he has like these specific things that it has to qualify for him to make it a story, and almost all of them are. They're all like the one you just showed. That guy qualifies.
Yeah, 12,000 feet. Now, actually, I don't know how they found his body.
Right, they haven't said.
They haven't said. Now, are they going to release it? Maybe we need to possibly ask them, and maybe call and find out. And will they tell us? They probably won't tell us the truth either.
They won't tell you.
They won't tell us. Not unless you're part of the search team that actually recovered the body and what kind of condition it is to really tell us the exact, because they're going to pretty much keep it top secret, put a hush hush on it, and that's it. We're not going to know. And that's what's going on. All these people are dying, and they're recovering the bodies, but they're not telling us how and what condition they are in.
Right.
For all we know, every single one could have no head, no arms, no legs,
or they could have been launched, like he was saying, off of a cliff where it's, I don't know how far, but so far that he can't jump that far.
Right. Like 50 yards. You can't run and jump
so
that
many
50
feet
yards
out.
is a long way. Maybe 10 or 15 yards at the most. But if they find a body 50 yards, 75 yards out, and there's a cliff 1,000 feet high, there's no way. You can't jump that far. But if they find out that, that body was launched from that cliff, and not even two people rocking him and throwing him that far could do it. It's
especially like if they find him or the person after they already searched that area.
Yeah, and they come back and oops, there's the body.
There it is, right in the open. Like, how did that get there?
And that has happened many times, and David Paulides have called it. And we're going to talk to David Paulides in a couple weeks, guys. We got 2 more weeks, I think, and we're going to have him on the air, and that's going to be a fun show. So, all right.
I have a cousin, in Washington State, and he sent me an email like 3 months ago, or no, 3 nights ago. 3 nights, not 3 months. 3 nights. He's been living in Washington about 3 years, and they live right on the edge of the forest. He's an MMA fighter. He's not afraid of very many things. And they've been hearing, me and him have been talking about this Bigfoot or something happening around their house.
Right.
He thought it was a Bigfoot, and he even sent me a video one night where he was out in his front yard, and this thing was screaming off in the distance. And probably for like 5 minutes, I have 5 minutes of screaming that he sent me. And his wife is on the fence, and his kids thinks it's cool. Well, 3 nights ago, something screamed right outside of his house, and he said everything in his house was vibrating. His 10-year-old daughter came out of the bathroom crying. His wife thought it was in the kitchen screaming. And she is now not on the fence. She knows for a fact it was a Bigfoot. It's not acting nice. He went out the very next evening after he got off work and was trying to locate where it was, like maybe 100 feet from his back door. And this bush started shaking violently. And at first, it didn't scare him. He's MMA guy. He's like, hey, come out of the bush, And then it really started shaking. Like, it looked like it was about to be yanked out of the ground and thrown at him. That violent. And it scared him. And he backed off, and I was telling him, man, I need to get you on the show to talk about this,
right.
And he's willing, but he wasn't home tonight. But we'll try to get him on so that you could hear in his words what's going on right outside of his back door in Washington. And it isn't being nice, right? It is being very, aggressive and loud and getting closer and closer, more bold to their house. And I can't wait to hear more.
I wonder how many times this is actually happening out there and we're not hearing about it because they don't want to come out and tell people, hey, there's a monster or something right on the outskirts of our property line every night that we hear it screaming or they hear it walking. How many times have we heard that?
Oh my God.
Boom, boom, boom. And it's because of the weight of the Bigfoot. These things are like...
I had a little bit of people, I have had a little, some people kind of make fun of me on the show we did where it was the owl.
Right.
Yeah, the owl was big. No, but only what they don't know is we could hear the owl walking. Right. There isn't no owl that goes crunch, 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 whoo. You know what I mean? It doesn't do that.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, you could hear something walking around the camp and it was making owl sounds. How's that? It wasn't an owl. It was something walking around, and every once in a while it would make an owl sound.
Right.
But all our recorder picked up was the owl sound. We didn't get the crunch, crunch, crunch.
Right. Now, we're not saying they were owls because if you were there with us and you heard these things yelling or mimicking the owl sounds, it sounded like the owl was 10 feet tall and had lungs on it enough to really scare you. That's what we were all listening to. It wasn't a whoo, whoo. No. All right. This thing was right in your face. It was circling the campsite. And I was reading on the internet, on Facebook, that the Bigfoots mimic what they hear
Right.
in the forest.
They mimic other animals.
And they mimic other animals. And there's specific reasons why they do that. Hunting, for example. You know, if they're going to go hunt for a certain species of animals, then they want to mimic it. That way they can bring it closer to it. What not to say that these Bigfoots that are right near us migrated down from Washington, where the barred owls are habited too. Right? And that makes totally freaking sense. People go, man, that's a long walk. Well, not for Bigfoots. The way these things, if people would only understand how fast these things move.
Well, it could have took them a few years.
Yeah.
I mean, I even have a theory on that. Like, I actually think that it's the young males that are looking for a mate. And they're not, like a lot of people say, oh, they're migrating for the food. You know, migrating 1,000 miles, maybe they're a whale. I don't know. But only, I think looking for a mate, you know, like they can't breed with their brother and sisters or whatever. So they move out, you know what I mean? And they keep going down the mountain range, and then they get down there, you know.
Makes sense. Yeah.
And then here you are. You got some Bigfoot down here making an owl sound that is from 700 or 800 miles away.
Right. And you got to understand now that we're the breadbasket of the world anymore because of the water, but we have the food source down here for the Bigfoots is the abundance. So you got your oranges and your grapefruits, your nectarines, your plums, your grapes, your peach, you know, all that is here. And we've had reports, you guys, the Bigfoot's down on the valley floor. You guys have to understand, things happen when you're asleep. All right? These things are moving during the nighttime. Example, you know, the gentleman that was in the forest for 27 years, you know, he would pretty much stay at camp during the day, and he would move around during night and go and break in to houses to steal food. Well, what do you think Bigfoots do? You know, they could come down here to the valley floor. We have so much farmland where they have goats and chickens, and you know, the Bigfoots would come over, probably take one of the goats, one of the chickens, a small calf or whatever, and the farmer would think, oh damn it, a mountain lion or a coyote got into the pen and took one of the animals. But they won't you know, think about a Bigfoot doing it. And I bet you that's happening constantly, and they're thinking it's just a regular, you know, animal looking for food, but they're not thinking the way we're thinking.
I think like that even more now. Know. I mean, how many people have we, like, even recently, right? We've got like all kinds of reports just from right around Shaver Lake.
Yeah, Shaver Lake is rocking right now with Bigfoot sightings.
Yeah, I mean, all you guys that think you're going camping up there, don't let your kids run around at night, okay? Because Bigfoot's seen like at least 3 times since 4th of July around Dinky and Shaver Lake area.
Yep.
You know, so.
All right. Let's see. What else do we got that we were going to talk about? We had some weird lights over Fresno the past week. Nothing major. Couldn't get them on film. It's just one of those things, you know, when you have a camera, especially cell phones, taking night shots of things in the sky, they're not going to come out good. Even a video or, you know, a photograph, it's your luck is not good getting a good shot. So, but I have had reports of 2 or 3 people calling in seeing the exact same light, which didn't correspond to a helicopter or an airplane. You know, the light configuration's totally wrong on it. The way it was moving wasn't an airplane, wasn't a helicopter. You know, the UFO sightings have been on the down low lately, and I don't know why. I don't know why. You know, I remember 2 years ago it was off the hook. You know, we were showing you guys videos and pictures. We had people on the air talking about their sighting, and you know, one right after the other.
It's been Bigfoots now.
Now it's just Bigfoots. You know, we're not a Bigfoot show here, you guys. I hope you realize, you know, the title Paranormal Central, that's what it's representing. It's everything paranormal. But the Bigfoot, you know, sightings have been off the hook. We've been getting, you know, stories left and right, and so has Danny. You know, Danny's been investigating some areas and some stories, and he's been getting a lot of hits on Bigfoots. And you know, we get it all here. All right, it's just not, you know, just not Bigfoot. You I get a lot of calls about ghosts, about haunted houses, but they are from other parts of the United States, and I am able to talk to them and figure out, what it could be, how they could solve the problem. If you want to solve the problem, how about to go to it? Because, we can't travel from Central California and go frickin', 2,000
not
miles.
yet.
Not yet. We eventually, with the show and everything, with the budget, we'll be able to send a crew. But right now, it's just by phone. But there's a lot of stuff that happens behind the scene that you don't see. As a matter of fact, I want to talk about that too. On Facebook, there's a lot of people doing what we're doing. They have blogs, they have magazines, they have websites, and they talk about paranormal. Lately, actually not lately, a lot, and I'm getting tired of this. We get a lot of sightings, a lot of information about certain cases. I could bombard my wall with it. I could bombard, Paranormal Central's like page with it. But when I don't have actual evidence or proof to show you anything on the story, then I'm not going to post it. Lately, and I don't want to say it lately, it's been happening now for a long time, and I just pretty much came out and said it the other day, and I pretty much said, you know what? People who now are putting on their blogs and putting on walls about stories about people that happened 20 years ago or 15 years ago, unless you have proof that it happened, or if you have the person on your show that's talking about it, well then okay, then I'm going to say, okay, it's probably a valid case. But when all of a sudden you write about an incident that occurred 20 years ago someplace, who knows where, the city or whatever, and then you post it for everybody to come down to your wall to read, or to your blog and read, and unless I see proof of something like that happening, then it's hearsay to me. And that's one of the reasons why I don't like doing that on my wall or on this show. I'm not going to sit here and talk to you about somebody that we know that it's, unless I have physical proof like a picture or video, or if a person wants to come on the air and talk via phone or come in the studio and tell us their story, then I think it's a valid case to talk about. I'm just tired of these people, and what I'll hear too is they will record a story, an audio, and then they'll put it on YouTube, and then they'll put the links out for you to go out there and listen to their YouTube video of him talking, the guy who does a blog or whatever, just so that he can rack up views and add that to his view channel and make money on it. And that I think is bogus right there. A lot of it, it's about views, it's about getting money on YouTube, and that's not what we're about here. So I'm just, I'm just sick and tired of all these stories. I am. If you want to get ticked off at me, well, so be it. Get ticked off at me.
I've been noticing like the rehashing of the old Bigfoot.
Just,
and some of the UFO.
Area
things,
51, Roswell. All these old stories. I got contacted, and I told you and Danny about that production company out of Canada. They're actually from the UK, but they hired a production company out of Canada. They wanted me to fly out. They were going to fly me out to Area 51, out to the gate, the mailbox, and they wanted me to talk about the Roswell and what I think is going on at Area 51. And they wanted me to say that they got the wreckage from Roswell, went to Hangar 18, from there eventually they made it to Area 51, and that's where they're re-engineering the craft and other crafts. And they wanted me to say, well, what do you think is coming out of here for a fact? And they wanted me to say, like, microwave oven and fiber optics, and they wanted me to actually say that for a fact this is what is coming out of Area 51. And I said, I don't have proof of that. How can I actually say that? And to this day, I believe we have credibility in what we're doing, and I did not want to make up lies just so I could get put on TV. And I told them, you know what, I'm going to back out of this because I don't want to say something that I don't have proof on. So they said, that's fine, we'll find somebody else to do it. So they're going to find somebody else to go in there and to say, yes, they know for a fact that fiber optics came off the crashed UFO out of Roswell, and so did other whatever because of re-engineering. And I did not want to lie. And sure, I could have got a free trip to Vegas and to Area 51, but I didn't want to do that. I didn't. So it's all about giving you guys the truth here. And we're not going to make crap up, and we're not going to say that, we're not going to make anything up just for you guys to keep watching us and listening to us, because that's not what we're about here.
Yeah,
all right?
Robert, or one of the guys that we go camping with, he was telling me the other night that he had his son visiting, and he saw a UFO. And I mean, it freaked him out. He had one shoe on and one shoe off, and they went driving down, 180, and he found where it landed, and then he jumped over the fence, and he ran over there and was getting stickers in the one foot that didn't have a shoe on,
right? And
got over there and found out it was some guy with a drone,
right? A very big drone,
a big one.
He said it was 8 foot.
Yeah,
he said it was an 8-foot drone, and this guy has it near the 180. And
by the river in 180,
right, way over there.
Yeah.
And I know, like 2 years ago, we used to get a lot of reports of a light out in that area. Well, guess what? It probably is. It's probably this guy with this drone. Now, we could take it totally different ways. I've never heard where you can purchase an 8-foot long drone.
Me either.
Okay. Now, what if? Now I know of a house out there where this guy flies model airplanes, and I wonder if this is where this drone is coming from, because there's actually a cement
right across the street.
There's actually an airstrip, a small airstrip for model planes.
Oh.
At this house where you guys understand, I work for AT&T Telephone. I actually remember going to this house one day a long time ago. I'm talking 6-7 years ago, to repair a phone line at this place, and he was in his garage, and he had 6 or 7 freaking large airplanes, badass airplanes, man. And then off the side of his house there was an airstrip, a cement airstrip. It probably the size of a football field, but only 5 feet in width. Enough for his planes, right? And I just that was really cool to me. And I remember, I know where this house is at. But what if? And you guys know, for all those who have been following us for over 10 years, we've had a lot of action in that area. Not only that area, but over Fresno. And the UFOs, which I'm calling unidentified flying objects, because we don't know what they are, have seen heading out that way over the mountains. So what if they have people positioned in different parts of Fresno area with these drones, that when a UFO sighting occurs, that they are authorized to get this drone out and start flying it? So people now will say, oh, look, oh, it's a drone. That's what we've been seeing. It's not a UFO. It's that guy flying this drone. Maybe this guy, because I've never heard of an 8-foot drone, round drone with propellers. So obviously this thing was specially made for a reason. Maybe the guy is just an aviation geek and likes model airplanes and decided to make a UFO, which he did, which looked like he did.
Robert said it had to have a camera, because it was going way
far away,
a quarter mile away from the guy.
Right.
And going real high and far, and then coming back,
right.
and
so that means this guy knows what he's doing. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? In order to have him able to fly this thing a long way, so that whatever he made was not cheap.
Yeah.
It was not.
Oh, no.
It was not cheap. Okay.
Even the little ones aren't cheap.
They're not cheap. Yeah. You imagine an 8-foot. Something to get that off the ground, and if it's going to be a mile away or 2 miles away from the point of where you launched it, then it's whatever antenna range. It's that stuff isn't cheap.
No.
Okay, we're talking
And most
military.
of them never go that far
No,
away.
not
They never
at all.
go out of visual
Exactly.
range.
So we're talking military grade possibly. So again, that's where my theory is. What if these guys are placed somewhere all over the valley with these whatever drone toys that when the sightings come in and our phone starts ringing off the hook on our 24-hour hotline, that they are authorized to launch these things up so that way people say, oh, it was just that guy over there flying his toy. And that has happened many times. You know, we've had triangle aircrafts fly over Fresno, and then all of a sudden, you know, 5 minutes later, we see these jets flying in a diamond-shaped formation, boomerang shape, you know, formation. And then I've actually told a couple people, no, I saw it. They were jets. And they're going, no, that's not what I saw. And I'm going, dude, you saw jets. And they get mad at me, Jeff. I know what I saw that wasn't jets. So, you know, that's what these things do. They get up to the air right away to mimic a large boomerang.
Within an hour.
Oh, way sooner than that, dude. Just to throw people off. And granted, it works because it's thrown me off until we caught on what they were doing.
Right.
They were basically trying to throw us off, and we caught them doing that.
Yeah, because say you see a triangle and then you report it, and they're like, "Oh no, it wasn't a triangle.
Right.
That was us flying, you know, in formation."
Right.
And that's what I saw too. But only 45 minutes ago or 30 minutes ago, everybody was reporting a triangle, you know,
all black in
all around
shape,
the city.
Right? And so, you know, we have caught on to their ways of trying to
like fake us
out. Yeah. And now and that's one of the reasons why I think a lot of the sightings have calmed down, because I think they were definitely flying a lot of their top secret craft over Fresno. If you guys were with us 4 years ago, 5 years ago, I would constantly have people on here on UFO reports. They would call in. My 24-hour hotline would ring off the air. Matter of fact, on Sundays, we would get calls during the actual hour we were on, and we were in that room over there. So it was crazy.
You know what? I haven't even done one Skywatch, not, you know, organized one this summer because of it.
Been quiet?
Yeah, I mean, there's no UFO sighting, so why get everybody together and do a Skywatch? I mean, I've done some little ones, you know, with my brother and some friends, but really I haven't organized anything because there's nothing.
Right,
I mean,
there isn't.
my sister's been telling me lately she's seen something. I don't know which way she's looking or anything, but she said she's seen it 2 nights in a row. But and that's in the week that you were saying that you were getting those reports.
Right.
So maybe she was seeing what they saw.
Okay. For all those who don't know, I've had a 24-hour, and it used to be a UFO hotline, but it's now just a paranormal hotline. I have 2 iPhones. One's my personal, and the other one is my 24-hour hotline that I basically carry around with me 24/7. And there is a number that goes to this 24-hour hotline. I get calls from all over the world, you guys, not just the United States or just not California anymore, which is really awesome. So if you guys want to talk to me about something and give me some cool information, some cool top secret information, or if you have a case that you need help on or just anything, you can call me at this number, all right? I will give you this number if you want to get a pen and paper, and if you want to program it in your cell phones, by all means do so. Especially, I advise you that if you do see a UFO, that you can call me at that number, and I will answer it, and hopefully if it's around our area, I can get other people outside to videotape it, and we can go from there. But the number is area code 559-287-8367. Again, that's 559-287-8367. The last 4 numbers of that phone number represent the letters UFOS. 287 UFOS. All right, so program that in your cell phone, and the next time something happens, you can go ahead and call me on it. This is actually the number 2. You know, we have 15 minutes, so if anybody wants to call in, so we can just, if you have something you want to talk to us about or have a question, you know, we're going to open the lines for the next 15 minutes, and go ahead and give us a call, and we'll go ahead and talk to you if you want to talk. Again, the number is 559-287-8367. 287-8367. All right. Right now, our new set is being built. Can't tell you where, because if I told you, I have to kill you. And so we're going to be broadcasting. I want to be broadcasting out of that new set in the middle of October. Now, you guys already know that we've been given a 30-minute show on the Fox network here in the central part of California. And eventually, we know it's going to go national. And hopefully, it will be brought up to an hour show, because 22 minutes is not enough time to do anything, to be honest with you. We can't do nothing in 22 minutes. But regardless, the set is being built for that specific show. In that set area, we're also going to have set up a radio show, where we're going to have pretty much this setup, and we're going to move it all into there, and that's where we're going to be broadcasting our radio show as well. But you won't be able to see the actual set for the TV show, because it's going to be not in the view of the camera. So that's going to be happening in October. Hopefully everything's going to be switched off, and we'll be going that way. So we got a call coming in.
Sizzle reel's almost done.
It's just this. So, hello, who's this? Hello, you're on Paranormal Central.
Oh, you're back.
Hello. That person is there. They're just not answering.
Nah.
Okay.
They
wanted to see if the phone number actually worked.
Huh.
And it did. So, God, I had so many things. You know, I didn't know we were going to have St. Jean on, which is totally awesome. I really enjoyed that conversation with him. But I was going to talk about a little bit on prepping. You know, people are freaking out, especially, like, for example, we just had that earthquake in Napa Valley, which is right, you know, pretty darn close to San Francisco. And a lot of people wanted to know, well, did you feel it? Hold on, we got another call. All right, go for it. Hello, this is Paranormal Central.
Yeah, Jeffrey.
Yes.
This is JJ calling from the land of Oz.
JJ, what's going on, brother?
Well, I just got back from my supposedly 2-month stay out to Reno, Nevada, but it got cut short. Places I was staying had a bed bug problem, and I couldn't see risking it, so I decided to cut my trip short.
What were you doing?
One thing that happened to me on the way back, I don't like going through Denver, so I cut down off one of them little lonely highways out of Silverthorne, making my way to Colorado Springs. And I seen something off in the wilderness, in the trees, high top in the trees, a real bright light would look like it had a light shining downward, but it was so many trees in the way, I really couldn't get a good view at it. And, you know, I don't know if you've been in those mountain pass roads, man, you got to be really careful. I should have pulled over, but I was wanting to get home so bad. But
what did it look like?
I didn't get a hold of my friend out there. He's back up in Roseville area now. He keeps bouncing between Sonora and going up to Roseville. You know, I just feel like I just want to come out straight with him, but he has a government phone. Every time I talk to him, it's like a government phone issue, and I can't really, you know, get into details like I want to. Like I say, I've known him for like at least 3 years, started out in Reno, and I kind of started hinting about what he did. He said he was worked for the government, but pretty much they pay for where he stays, they move him around where they need to move, and I've always suspected him being a air traffic controller for special type events, aircraft, whatever. And those areas that he's been in is definitely where you've been talking about, the Triangle Alley. However, I do know I haven't really heard much about anything in that area, and I do think you guys are onto something about these so-called drones that people are flying to possibly throw people off. That possibly whenever they do have a flight, you know, they get these individuals to take up these little drone type aircraft, which is very popular now. You can
right.
build them, get them in a hobby shop real easy.
Right.
But since I'm back now, I don't have the pressure of getting out to Reno anymore. I am going to start looking on Facebook to see if, not Facebook, but YouTube, about the old sighting that was happening outside of Kansas City.
Oh.
Because at one point they were saying they had the most UFO sightings in America, orbs. So now that I got the pressure off of me, I think I'm gonna try to mosey my way up on the other side of Kansas City and do some stargazing.
Right on.
Sweet.
Yeah.
But
the last year when you called me on that sighting and you sent me that picture, remember?
yeah,
That was in that area, wasn't it?
yes,
Yeah, we couldn't verify the picture.
yeah. I called the authorities. I called fire departments in the different areas, and everybody was mute. They didn't want to discuss anything.
Wow.
And my friend, I'm sure as hell, feel that he wouldn't lie about anything like that. It was definitely kept hush hush, whatever if did happen there. But I think something happened there because, you know, what the conversation was going on, you know, about this bright light, and it's been in the hotspot. It's been on YouTube about these orbs and being very bright. I don't know. I just think that you know, they're trying to throw us off. You know, even though it's our government, but we have no really, let's say, association with other, let's say, entities, which I believe is just a hoax. I believe it's really happening. It's just the mankind. Did you see Survival Man? You ever watch Survival Man?
Yeah, you're talking about the Bigfoot one?
Oh yeah, did you see that? Did you watch it?
Oh yeah.
What you think about that picture? It didn't quite look like a Bigfoot to me. It
right.
looked like
and you know, JJ's talking about Todd Standing and the Survivor Man episodes. There's two of them. You know, at this point in time, you know, I can't say anything at this point, and I want to tell you why, JJ, because one person in particular, his name is Jeff Meldrum, has taken a liking to Todd Standing and is actually doing stuff with him. Now, Jeff Meldrum and all those people who are familiar with Bigfoots, he is the one guy to go to when it comes to casting footprints. You know, this guy is the man.
right.
He is associating himself with Todd Standing. Now, if you are that type of person, which Jeff Meldrum is, he has credibility in the Bigfoot area. You know, he doesn't want to ruin his credibility. So he associated himself with Todd Standing, which is telling us here that there is something going on there that we don't know about. I think if this Todd Standing was pulling a fast one, and Jeff Meldrum knew he was pulling a fast one, I don't think Jeff Meldrum would be associated with him. But Jeff Meldrum has, or did at one point in time, was doing a radio show with him. And from what I understand, Todd Standing showed Jeff Meldrum something on computer, which he had on video, that pretty much threw Jeff Meldrum for a loop, and I think made him a believer. So, with that saying, even though what you're seeing on Survivor Man on national TV, it might look fake, but we don't know, man. You know, we don't know. So again,
one more thing.
Yeah.
Did you guys happen to see this show that aired probably 3 weeks ago? It came on before I went to Reno driving. It was about the other side of the moon, which we really can't see.
Oh, I missed that one.
The book was, somebody had wrote a book saying there's somebody else on the moon. Right,
the backside of the moon. That this is what I'm going to tell you what I feel. I feel that my theory is that we have been going out there for many, many, many years. I believe that our government has a black project, has a different, let's just say, type of military. I believe we're already flying all over the place. Now, for those who don't know who JJ is, JJ has been calling in for a while. He's actually ex-Navy man. He's Air Force and Navy. This guy has been on an aircraft carriers. He knows every single kind of craft that we have. So
he's actually retired.
Retired, right?
From both.
Right. So you know as well as I do, JJ, that our government has some cool toys.
Yeah.
Right. Oh yeah. We have some cool toys. Now the next question is, where did these toys come from?
Exactly.
Okay. Now my feeling on all this is that you know, I think what's on the other side of the moon, it might be a combination of both theirs and ours. That's what I feel. I feel that we're going back and forth just with that ease with what we have now. I believe we have a secret black, you know, air starships. You know, I believe we're flying all over the place.
Just like that commercial. Just like that commercial.
Yeah.
Why would the guy mention that if he wasn't there?
And for all those who don't know what he's talking about, as a matter of fact, dude, I just saw it on TV a couple days ago. They actually played it on TV, and there's this he's a pilot, and they're different kind of men. They're talking, and they're explaining to you the different types of aircraft, and the guy says starships, right?
Yeah,
right?
Said starships.
He said starships. He goes, this is one of the things that we're driving. Starships.
And he's a government. That's from the government.
That's what it's like.
It's made
you
by the
guys,
government.
Yeah, exactly. They're made by the government.
Commercial.
And they're trying to tell you something there. Why would they say starships?
I mean, he even mentions spaceships, and then he says starships.
Yeah.
Okay. So what the hell? Okay, this is coming from our United States military. What they are?
He was a United States Air Force colonel.
Okay, colonel.
And that's a recruiter. It's a recruiting commercial to recruit.
Right. And he said, once again, JJ, what did he say? Starships and spaceships.
Spaceships and then starships.
Right. Okay. That.
Now, why hasn't the space shuttle has been retired? How long?
The what?
2 years now.
What's that?
The shuttle.
Yeah. You know what? The shuttle to me was just a front, dude. That's all it was. It was just keeping everybody out there away from what we really have. And the space shuttle, it's all it was just a front. The reason why we stopped it is because Obama or whoever's is in charge of this knows that, you know what, let's just stop this. This is absolutely ridiculous. It's going to come out sooner or later. Yes, obsolete. Obsolete. So, all right, dude, I got to let you go because we're just about finished up here. So I appreciate you calling,
Good
JJ.
to hear from you, both of you.
Man, it was cool hearing from you, bro.
All right, well,
and I love the pictures. It looked like you went through the Badlands.
So, all right, JJ, we'll talk soon, all right?
All righty.
Okay, see ya.
JJ.
All right.
Okay, bye. All right, so that was JJ. He's been calling us for a while now. He's ex-military. This guy knows his military crafts, and you know, again, military personnel are telling us, you know what, dude, you have no idea. Yeah. You have no freaking idea.
He's one of them. I mean, he knows, but only, you know, it's all compartmentalized.
Right.
So he only knows what he knows.
Okay.
And that's it.
All right. Hey, I want to thank everybody for showing up. That's it. So, all right, you guys. Appreciate you guys coming on. Thanks to Gene St. Jean for hopping on and talking to us about these cool statuettes and action figures that are coming out. That's going to be bitching. So, all right, you guys. My name is Jeffrey Gonzalez, Alan Thomas, and Emerald Bonilla. Say goodbye, everybody. Take care.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
You have been listening to Paranormal Central with Jeffrey Gonzalez and Alan Thomas, broadcasting worldwide at paranormalcentral.net and on artbell.com. Stay tuned for next time. Remember to keep your eyes to the skies, and we hope you witness something you cannot explain.
I'm looking for you. You're looking for me. We have to decide what